right, so the next thing we're going to do after this is we're going to put this in I'm going to label them. I'm going to put them in a sunny place. And every day for the next 2 weeks, we're going to just take our jars and we're going to do what we call stir the herbs. Today, I want to show you how to make an ear oil that you can have on hand. It's easy to make. It doesn't take a lot of steps or recipes. And this is something that you can use when there's an earache, somebody's dealing with a sore throat or a respiratory issue. This is great. It's Mullein Garlic Ear Oil. And so I've been doing a series where I have my own little herb garden out front of my house, and I have harvested some of those and made tinctures out of them. But at the same time that I was doing that, I discovered some volunteer mullein or wild mullein growing in my garden. I was so excited because I had seen some in years past, but it kept getting cut down. I didn't know what it was when I first discovered it because I didn't know about herbs. So while I rescued some mullein, and one of the rescues has made it, it's thriving, and I'm looking forward to having mullein in my flower garden next year, I didn't want to wait to make my own ear oil. I have 8 grandchildren, and every once in a while, my husband and I might also get earaches, but kids are prone to earaches. So I wanted to have on hand an ear oil that is tried and true. It's been used for, I want to say centuries, but I don't know that for a fact, but for many years by many people. And that's the mullein plant, the mullein flowers is what I'm using today, and some garlic. I've already harvested the other things and made tinctures from my garden, but I didn't have mullein, like I said. So I ordered some mullein flowers so that I could go ahead and make my tincture, which is in another video. But so that I could also make what we call a cold oil infusion. And the reason it's called a cold oil infusion is because I didn't heat the oil. One thing that you can do is if you find yourself in an emergency situation and you need an ear oil right away, you don't have mullein, maybe you have some garlic or maybe you have some onion. You can do what's called a hot oil infusion, where you warm up some olive oil or coconut oil or something like that that's clean and pure. So that may be another video discussion, is what kind of oil should you have in your cupboard. But most people tend to have garlic. Fresh garlic is preferred. Some people, and I even have minced garlic in my refrigerator, just because sometimes I just want something really quick and I need to grab it. I'm cooking. I'm like, oh, garlic would be nice with that. That's beside the point. The point is you can make a hot oil infusion or a cold oil infusion, and you don't even have to just do a hot oil infusion for an emergency. There are times when you'll want to warm your oil and get your herbs in and extract the properties out, the healing properties out of the herb by using a hot method. But the flowers, things like flowers and leaves, especially the more delicate they are, they don't necessarily need to be heated up to extract that out. So things like bark and root tend to, not always, but tend to be what we use hot oil infusions for. But there have been those times when it's the middle of the night, it's past midnight, my kids would wake up with an earache or something like that. And, back then there were all-night grocery stores, but we didn't have herbs on every shelf and all that. And some of you may live in an area where you can't just go right around the corner, or even if you can go right around the corner, it's not on the shelf. So what do? So you can, like I said, you can, if it's an emergency, warm up some olive oil, put some minced garlic in it. Just a few minutes is all it takes. It doesn't have to take long. And after it's had a chance to cool, you can take that garlic and rub it on the outside of the ears where the lymph nodes are, things like that. Or you can be prepared. So what I'm doing is I'm prepping. I'm prepping for the winter season. I have 8 grandkids, and so while I'm going to keep some of this on hand for me and my husband, I'm going to also give some to my children for their children so that they have it on hand and they don't have to go, because if you're dealing with a sick child, you don't want to also have to be chopping up garlic and doing it all. But if you need to, there you go, you need to. So what I did is I have already done the video where I prepared this, but it's got mullein and it's got garlic. I minced a clove of garlic. I took and filled the jar with dried mullein. This is what I used, dried mullein flowers. And then I covered it with 16 ounces of olive oil. So now that it's been sitting and being stirred twice a day, oh, it smells good. It smells like something you would want to eat. I'm going to actually take and strain it. So I've got my cheesecloth and I've got my little strainer basket that sits so nicely in my measuring cup. This is an 8-ounce Anchor measure cup. I love it because it's got the spout, and I actually love this because it just sits right there so snugly. They don't come together like that. That just happens to be the way that fits. So I've got my cheesecloth. This is a 100% cotton, organic cotton, unbleached. And I'm just going to take this and pour. So this is going to, because it's an oil, it's probably going to take a while to go through the cloth. Oh, goodness. That smells so good. I love the smell of garlic. And mullein smells sweet. Mullein tea tastes sweet. This wasn't that expensive. And so I've made mullein tea, just heated some water and let it steep. And oh my goodness, it was absolutely fabulous. So when I squeeze this, my hands, unlike when I do the the herbal tinctures that are in vodka, when I squeeze this one, my hands are going to get oily. But that's okay. I'm going to squeeze that oil out. And we want to get all that oily goodness, all of it. So the mullein is, mullein leaves and the mullein flowers are very soft and absorbent. The leaves were even used, they're used to dress wounds. So they get pretty big and they can be used for wound dressing. So that is something to keep in mind. Yeah, see, my hands are nice and oily. All right, and so, wow. That's about 3.5. I'm looking at that funny. So, wow. Smells good. It almost makes me want to have Italian bread for dinner. Golly, that smells good. Okay, so what I have are some 2-ounce jars and 2-ounce little amber bottles. I'm going to pour what I have got here into my 2-ounce bottles. All right, so one of the things that is different between an oil infusion and a tincture is when we make a tincture, I used vodka. I used alcohol. Some people make tinctures out of glycerin, but my oil infusion, I have to use, or I don't have to use, but I want to use a preservative to make sure that it lasts longer. It doesn't grow any bacteria or anything like that in it. And so one of the things that you can use, there are several different things you can use. You can use like vitamin E oil and other things like that. But I'm actually going to use an essential oil. And the essential oil that I chose is actually cedarwood. This is Cedarwood Atlas. This one is by Nature Sunshine. I use several different essential oil brands. I find that I like several different brands for different reasons, but the brand isn't so much important as the preservative properties that I'm going to get. and the fact that I'm using this for children. So I'm making my herbal infusion keeping in mind that yes, adults might use it, but children might use it. So I've got grandchildren that range from literally just born to 10 years old right now when I'm filming this. And so you want to choose essential oils that are safe for kids. Now, the infant, this is not something we would use on. It's okay, in extreme emergencies, we, can see which essential oils or which herbs would be best. But I'm just keeping in mind that this would work really well for, 2 years old and above, no problem. And so what I'm going to do is when we use essential oils with children, we use a 1% dilution in our oils. So 1% dilution is 3 drops per ounce. Since I'm using 2-ounce bottles, I can use 5 or 6 drops of cedarwood oil, and it will be safe for my grandkids. So what I'm going to do first, so that I can speak clearly, is I'm going to take and I'm going to drop 6 drops into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and as I tilt it, 7 went in. That's fine. So then I'm going to take my oil that I have strained and I'm going to fill up my jar. Got a little bit more we can fill up there. Don't want to overdo it. Oil is so messy. Whoop! And yep, it came up the spout and overflowed. Just dang. It's really okay. It's just messy. It's just messy. There we go. So we want to do the same thing. We want to make sure that we are labeling our bottles so that we know what we have. So this is my mullein ear oil. I use mullein, garlic, and cedar wood. And like I said, I'm going to take this, even though this is clear, I'm going to go ahead and pour this in here. And I'm going to put it in my refrigerator. I think I have a paper bag to help keep it dark. It'll be dark in the refrigerator. I'll order some more bottles and I'll make up some more. But there we go. So if you want the recipe for making your own mullein garlic ear oil, if you will go to my link, sweetherbandliving.com, you'll find my website. I have a blog, and at the top I have herbs and oils. I also have blogs on bread and things like that. So what I'll do is I'll drop a link down below for the blog that has the recipe for my mullein garlic ear oil on my website, sweetherbandliving.com. I hope you like this recipe. Please be sure to subscribe, like, hit the bell so you get notifications, and let me know if there are questions that you have or if there are other herb recipes you would like to explore, other things you would like to see on Sweet Urban Living with Beth. So thanks so much for joining me.